Hello everyone, this is Gorax, and today I'm gonna show you all the possible variations of the teams that can do over 200 million damage against the challenge boss Twitch, as well as a free-to-play friendly teams that can do over 22 million damage. I'll explain the strategy and what you need to do to score the highest possible damage here. This is going to be quite a lengthy video, but we will go over everything that you need to do to become quite high on the leaderboard thanks to this boss, as surprisingly this was my third highest damage that I dealt. So without further ado, let's go over the strategy first. I went over this in quite detail in my previous video when I showed you the best Twitch team. This team will be included in this video as well, just a quick look at it. But the main strategy here is we need to bring AoE healer damage dealers, as they will have increased damage by 50%, and also for each debuff that is resisted or dispelled, our heroes will gain 0.5% of attack up, which stacks up to 200. So if we get to 200 stacks, we'll have 100% increased attack. So we want to use this mechanics to deal as much damage as possible. On top of that, the placement will be really important, as we want to move the two Twitches in the backline one step further, so our AoE heroes such as Huberg or those who have diamond-shaped damage will deal damage to the boss. We achieve it by moving our heroes into the back two rows. You want to have range heroes in the last two and melee heroes, all the melee heroes that you use, in the back. When you press the fight, you'll notice that the two Twitches at the back step forward, and we can highlight and we can deal damage to them using our AoE abilities. All of these builds were done in exquisite testing. I've done 7 hours live stream where we were testing multiple Twitch teams and came up with multiple different formations using different heroes, different supports, etc. So you will find all of that information in this video. If I forget something, remind me that in the comment section down below. I'll answer your questions, worry not. So the first team that I started the testing was able to do 209 million damage. And it used a strategy that was developed by XOX, one of my viewers. And what you can see here is main strategy will resolve around the resistance on Jillian and around 10-second rotation on her ultimate. We'll use haste and resistance to do that. How we can achieve that? Very easily. If you look at the talents, all allies will gain 20% of her resistance. That's why we build her with high resistance. And we will also gain 1% ultimate energy when our ally heroes resist any debuffs. Twitch applies multiple layers of poison, which all can be resisted, granting her a lot of ultimate energy. Let me quickly show you that in fight. Just look at Jillian's ultimate. It's popping pretty much constantly. With Puppeteer set on our heroes, we can get this rotation even up to 9 seconds. And if we get it to 9 seconds, we will try to time her at 14 start and 9-second rotation. That's the perfect casting if you manage to do so. To help us achieve that, we will use the Tundra Guardian Heavy Armor. When she takes damage, she will gain 1% ultimate energy. That helps to build that. On top of that, we will use Lunar Radiance weapon to ensure she survives, but this can be replaced by something that I believe will work even better, which will be the Sky Treaty Totem. When we grant a shield, we will dispel the target. Now, we don't really grant shields with Jillian, but the Gatekeeper staff helps us with that. We'll use it mainly for the haste, but this extra shield really helps. So this is how we started building a team, and we need our adjacent allies that will apply, which is Remain, which will be Huberg in this case. He will wear resistance as well. We're looking at 200 resistance. We can get 220 accuracy, and we will have the 3 ears set on him. Will help him survive a little bit longer using these gloves here. When he applies a debuff, he will heal. And next we'll have Laurentiel, who will have Downpipe Organ to help Filto and Huberg with attack percentage increase, and he will once again wear resistance equipment. I managed to do it by giving him very good sub stats. On Huberg, it was quite harder because we also need accuracy, so we had accuracy run and resistance chest. Those two heroes will not be here to do damage. Main damage will come from Filto. Now with Filto, we can only target 2 twitches, but if you have Big B, and I don't have access to Big B on the test server, you can make it 3. You can make them walk forward even more because of how his passive is currently broken. So try that. I can't really show you the strategy because I don't have Big B, but you can watch my live stream and maybe you'll find it by 7 hours live stream. So it's a lot. So Filto will use the 4 mythics, and we're gonna use this unclean bloodline here as well. We want that to help us with any dispels because he doesn't have resistance, he's full damage, and so is Thelandor. The fight is pretty simple. Now you notice that after I show you the skill timings. In this case, since Huberg is our applier, we can rotate at 15 seconds and everyone will follow. Now ideally you want to put Filto on default as well, so try both timings and see what works for you best. But the fight pretty simple. I'm gonna show you just the first rotation, as we will use this strategy pretty much through all the other teams. So on the first rotation, the boss hits us, we're gonna get some poison stacks, we'll resist some of them, and we'll start gaining the stacks of attack up. Once we get to 200, that's our cap, but it does increase the damage significantly. Now, Filto in this team is not doing the greatest damage, but this is the team we started with. I believe Huberg in damage gear is better than Filto unless you can really pull 3 of the twitches and deal damage. Pretty simple fight. Team is able to do over 200 million damage. As you can see here in the picture, now those damage dealers might have died. You can change Jillian's equipment if you feel like they're dying too easily. You can put Ancestral Protection instead of this set. That will work as well. We tested that in multiple other teams. Now, if you don't have Jillian, I've done some tests with other teams that as well with other supports. You can use Mithracy using this exact same strategy. It will work. You'll still do over 200 million damage, but the problem with Mithracy is her ultimate skill has a huge cooldown. So the debuff immunity and extra healing will be lower. However, we will be able to use extra healing here. And if you want to boost the damage, if you feel like you're surviving just fine, although the team will start dying, but she will be resurrecting them, but it will also mean we are desyncing, you can replace the Gatekeeper staff with Horn, and that will work as well. Now, for those of you who don't have any of those legendary supports, there are other supports you might consider using the exact same team. So one of them will be using Catherine, and Catherine does already provide us with shield on overheal. However, I've noticed that putting Gatekeeper staff grants double the shield compared to her passive. So this is still a valid option. And once again, same strategy using resistance. We don't really care about enlightenment as it will be constantly boosting our skills and casting multiple times during single boss rotation. She does, however, have hard time keeping them alive, so you might even consider putting the Ancestral Protection equipment. Now also keep in mind you can really change the placement. If you feel like your damage dealers are dying, you can move them in this way. Keep in mind that Filto has to be either here or here to basically hit 2 of the enemies. And also, since Huberg does rely on resistance, we might do something like that. This will mean Thelandor will not be taking damage, and Filto here, that will ensure we get in 3, but I think with Filto in this spot will hit you 4 heroes. So multiple placements do matter. Skill timings for previous team, and this is the same, okay? So skill timings follow the idea that we had with the first team that we created. So the team with Jillian, with Mithracy, and with Catherine will follow this skill timing. Now, if you feel like you can survive, you can try this timing as well, 17.5 and 18. This will help you basically grant debuff immunity before the boss casts the poison. However, this does not remove already existing poisons on your team. That's the difference. If you look at Jillian's skills, as an example, you'll notice that her skill also dispels. So dispel is better than debuff immunity, I believe, in this dungeon, in this case of the boss. But what happens when you don't have Thelandor? So I ran multiple teams as well. In this case, I was using Alton as the damage dealer, following the same strategy with resistance and damage coming from Alton and Felto. Now this team did 200 something million, which is not bad, but there are teams that can do more damage, as I noticed that against this boss, since it's not a single target boss, the damage of Huberg is way higher than the damage of Felto and Alton, so he is a better damage choice. So while this team, following the exact same strategy on supports, which will be Lorenfil, Jillian, and in this case Huberg, is still able to do over 200 million with Alton being the damage dealer and Filto, it's not the best team for that. Skill timings here follow the same pattern as they did in previous fights. We don't really change the strategy, we just change the heroes and eventually we'll hit the jackpot. So as you can see, 205 million with this team and then suddenly 219 million. And this is where I discovered that Alton, as Witches Remain applier, is way better than Huberg. Huberg's damage will go through the roof. And also, as you can see, we tweaked the strategy. In this positioning, Filto will still get damaged, but Huberg will not. If you can keep Huberg alive, even in the group, it will be better, it will increase your damage because he will be getting more stacks, so this attack up will go quicker. And the timings also change significantly. So what we've done here is, we're gonna go on auto-rotation. Remember, we have Puppeteer set, which grants us 10% extra ultimate energy. We can't really go with 13.5 rotation, because they will desync eventually. So what we do instead is we go on auto. However, since this skill goes at 12 seconds, a little bit earlier, and does 1 second per orb to hit, we need at least 3 seconds before we can cast our ultimates with damage dealers. So tweak these times around. I went at 15, you can try 16, you can even try 17 and see what works. And once we've done that, the damage has significantly improved. And you'll notice how powerful Huberg is. When those twitches move forward, he's targeting 3 of them and dealing massive damage. Look at that. Filto is also on auto. This is what we want, but just after the first cast of ultimate, Huberg has already caught up to what Filto is doing. And this is a really good damage. As you can see, we're looking at 700,000 damage between those two, even 800, and at some points even 900,000 damage. And here we are, 2 minutes left on the clock, 200 million damage, and you can see the damage DPS of those two heroes was over 1.1 million basically. So that's quite huge, despite there not being an exclusive hero. And yes, this auto-rotation does work. Remember, this fight is quite random. I haven't mentioned that yet. Because of how we build Jillian, we will notice different deaths, different times against this boss, but it's still a solid over 210 million damage without too much hassle. I believe this is the easiest team to build with that resistance strategy. But keep in mind, if your Psychic Core gets to the higher levels, you don't really need to build them with resistance. They will survive, and you can build them with a little bit more damage. But I tried DPS on those two heroes as well, and it didn't quite work the way I would like it to. So we got 214 million with this team right now. As you could see, the team died, but we can try and fix it depending on your Psychic Core. You might change this equipment. As I see, I changed it to Ancestral Protection to show you that 2 of them are a viable option as well. So try and see what works best for you. And next we move on to the strongest team that I built. There's a separate video for this team, 14-minute long, so I don't want to talk much about it. But what happens here is we will use Thelandor and we will use this strategy. The strategy, this placement, allows us to survive as long as possible. I just quickly show you the timings. Once again, default timings. You can try Julian at 17.5 and 18. It works for some people. We are building them once again the same way. You can build them more defensively if they are dying, and you don't really need downpipe organ here. You can use other artifacts to boost Lorenfield damage slightly. This will reduce the team's damage a little bit because this downpipe organ is still the best. But in this case, if you look at how boss reacts, we're gonna get only our top corner will get hit with the ultimate. So both Huberg and Lorenfield can focus on damage. We can bring the 100% when our heroes at 100%, 25% damage increased chest as well. That will help us with the damage done. And this team is doing over 242 million damage, which, looking at what my other teams did, is third place. So I'm really surprised by how this rally team is performing. There might be better strategies as well. Maybe, as I said, you don't really need to build resistance eventually if you're able to survive and grant them all the stacks with Jillian just removing it. And yeah, I'm really happy with what we built here. It took us a while to get there, but look at the total DPS done between those two heroes. We're looking at 1.1 million DPS currently. It can go to 1.2 million DPS before we hit the 200 mark, and obviously then it slows down, but still very good team. Once again, quite random. Might need to run a few fights when it comes to the survival of the heroes, but the damage is there. I've been doing steady 230 million damage with this team. And again, once you crack the strategy, it's getting so much easier to build things around. In the next few fights, we will show you the other damage DPS variants that you can bring if you don't have the 4 legendary heroes. But the heroes that are quite mandatory here to deal a lot of damage is going to be Lorenfield. You really want Lorenfield, which is the guy on the elk, to be able to do this 15-second rotation, and below that, in Huberg is a huge damage dealer here. But if you have Filto, you can get similar but slightly less damage than Huberg. But those two will really carry you to 200 million damage. As the non-legendary heroes are not really that great. I think this will be like the team most free-to-play players will use on the last week, okay? As it's quite hard to build without that, but as you can see, we have 30 seconds on the clock. We're surviving 233 million damage right now, and no one's really dying. The last ultimate on Twitch, because he's getting the stacks increased damage, might actually kill us because we don't have any attack penalty. We also don't use the defense up just before the ultimate, and here we are 240 million without anyone dying. So this is very stable and good team with a little bit of randomness, as it is always when it comes to these things. And just to quickly show you the equipment, because I showed you the timings, as you can see, ancestral protection here, pipe organ, the exclusive artifact, and this. But now, if you don't run an exclusive artifact, if I just quickly replace this and use the other equipment that we can put, which is this on Filto currently, but it has the same stats, so just a quick rundown to show you what this team can do damage-wise. If they don't die, this will be a good visualization of not having this artifact. As long as we do over 200 million damage, there you go, 225 without the exclusive artifact is really good damage on Thelandor here. Now on to another team, so a little bit different order today. If you don't have the heroes that you need, if you don't have Thelandor or Filto, she still works. This epic hero, Kalias, is doing a lot of damage. As you can see, she works in similar fashion to Filto, and this team is able to do 205 million damage. We do time the skills here, but you can go default on them as well. Try both timings and see what works best for you. We're doing over 200 million damage. Now, moving on to those who have Asila and want to try her, there's a way to do so. to work with Asila, you need to block her from moving, because you will miss on this extra healing, and she can't keep the team alive with just that. We do build her in the similar manner. We will build her with an extended duration of the buff by 2 seconds, which means our debuff immunity will be 12 seconds now instead of 10, and we'll build her with as much haste as possible to reduce the cooldown of it. Now at 18 seconds, I would say like 16 seconds in reality, we will be casting 12-second buff, so this will help. The horn buff will also help us to increase damage. However, the team will not survive with just Asila's healing. So if you can make this team survive, you're looking at 220 damage, but you can't use Thelandor in this team. You can't, because then they will run and Thelandor will not get benefits from anything close to Asila. And this is why there's a problem with that. Now, also, if you've been thinking about using Catherine, you might and consider using Nathaniel instead. He does work really well in this team. You'll be looking at similar or even more damage because you'll be able to use Horn with him. And now, moving on to the free-to-play team. As I said, there's no many options, and basically we're using whatever we can get for free in Epic Heroes. I don't know if you can get them easily for free, but I would assume if you've been doing some summons, you might have them. So the team will consist of the same strategy that we've done previously by using different heroes. So I used this pretty simple placement, but you can improve this placement depending on what's happening and who's dying. You can go like this, and this will mean that Hegio and your Welby, who's doing quite solid damage, will not be affected by the boss's ultimate. Only the top will be. You can also replace her. You should actually put her here to do so. If you do so, she will be okay. I mean, no, she will not be okay. She'll be still getting hit by the boss, but Hegio will be okay. So keep in mind this works like this. And equipment-wise, yes, we will use multiple mythic equipments, but our artifacts will be the ones that you can get for free, which will be legendary, etc. You can obviously improve this team in any manner you want, depending on what you have. Yeah, maybe you have few legendary heroes, you can put them in, because this team did 25 million using all that stuff. That's basic stuff, no enhancements, nothing on the equipment, and skill timings are as follow. We start with that, and then basically default on this guy. Everyone else sadly has to be timed, because we don't have Lord Renfield, who is quite mandatory. And currently in this team, we don't really run any aura. And yeah, the battle is rough. It's not easy to deal damage with this team. As I said, there's not really good alternatives because we suffer from the range. Our witches remain, or crown in my case. Applier has a small 3x3 radius, so he can only hit 2 of them, as you can see. So we're missing crown, witches remain here, but with the crown we can only apply it to a single target anyway. So, you know, it doesn't really matter that much. And yeah, we do really lack range in this team, but we're getting very close and very quickly to 22 million, which is again the goal for most free-to-play players, especially beginners in the new season. Because if you are a veteran, you will have some of the rally legendary heroes, and you can really improve this damage quite significantly. But this is pretty much it for today, guys. This was a lengthy video, but hopefully this will help you get some good damage on this boss and get this 22 million to get the rewards, get the stones, get the UTR, get all the possible free rewards, and you know, get progressed, get your icon stronger for the next Continental challenge, which will happen in the next season. As you can see, we're very close to 22, but we can also do 25 million, so it's not the end of the world. And once again, if you want to see more of these guides or join me during the live stream, make sure you press the subscribe button and push the notification bell as well, so you see when I'm online, and you can see this team building in action, as I will try and improve all of the previous teams as well. This is the last boss that I cover, so we need to improve the best team that I created so far. And once again, thank you all for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.